Hi, Heshy.
Good morning, good Shabbos, everybody.
Good
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. There's Diane. She's happy.
Heshy, you're
Hello,
looking
everybody.
good.
Freedom
Hi,
from
Janet.
Florida.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Frida, you have to turn on your camera.
I'm
asking my son.
What's going on?
I can't get that red line off, Kenny.
Oh,
It's on the every time.
gotta click it really.
Never
Where'd
used,
you go?
Where'd she go?
Hi, Joan.
never used to.
Hi, Rita.
Uh,
Janet. Hi.
I don't care, they're asking.
Hi, Rose.
Hi, David. Hi, Ellen.
Barbara's pictures there, but I don't think she's there yet.
Where it says start video.
Hi, Freddie Stark.
What video?
Hi
That's
there.
Hey.
Hi, Janet.
Hi.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
now-
that's where you touch.
Now it went
There
on.
we go.
There's
You're on, Frida.
There's Rita.
Thank you.
Hey,
No, now it's.
Just push it up so we can see your
Yeah,
face.
you need,
We can only see the top of your head, Frida.
Adjust the camera. a little.
Wait a minute,
There we go.
I don't know where-
Do you have some books put underneath your computer?
Make it lift it
Lift up your computer.
Okay,
that's it.
Hi.
very nice.
That's good, Frida, you look good.
Hang on.
See me now. Hi,
We see you now, yes.
There you are.
Hi, Sally.
everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Yeah,
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
Hi, Fred. Hi, Sandy.
Barbara. Hi. Hi. How are you? I owe you. Hi, Barbara.
21 people.
Shabbat shalom, Bob.
Barbara, Lois, everyone.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi. I owe everybody
Barbara.
phone calls.
Hi, Miss Alyssa.
Hello, how are
Hi, Ellen.
Alyssa, how are you doing?
See Rena.
Hi, Listen.
Hello, Frida.
Hi,
Hi,
Joe.
Rhonda.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
There she goes.
That's better for
Frida.
Frida.
good.
We can see your face.
Perfect.
Where'd you go?
I don't know how it got there, but okay.
There. Yep.
Thank you.
Has everybody been vaccinated?
Shabbat shalom, Seth. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom. Seth, is that a beard you're starting to grow?
Foot out of here, my foot's in
Oh,
there.
Seth? Yeah. A Passover beard? He's hiding it.
And now he's hiding it.
Hi, Alyssa. I can't tell.
I'm having
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, thank you.
Fun.
Hi, Joan.
Hello.
Hi,
Alyssa Lando. Smile. You're on camera, candid camera. Good smile.
Smile. Everybody smile.
Oh, there she is.
You're a beautiful smile. You're a lovely
You,
young
you
lady.
have to smile. You never know when Mara's going to take a picture.
I know, that's right.
That's good. That's a
Oh,
beautiful.
she's not on tonight.
She's
Oh,
not on.
I don't see Mara.
Nope,
Okay.
not on.
Hi, Bob.
hi.
Okay, forget the smiles.
Hi, Stuart.
Hello.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
Hi, Janet.
Hi, Frida. How are you?
We all have to be good, yeah. I was sorry to hear about Dorothy.
Oh, that she's sick? She hasn't passed yet, has she?
Oh,
What did
My
you-
aunt?
No, she hasn't passed yet.
No, but she's in
Oh,
she's in home hospice.
yes,
She's not eating, she's not drinking. She's very anxious in the evening. I did contact Marjorie about sending a card. They're just asking for cards, no phone calls or certainly no visits. She doesn't hear well. But yeah, she's not doing well at all. So
Who is this?
my
Who is
Dorothy
this?
Cates. Dorothy Cates, who is my aunt.
Different one.
Oh,
Sorry.
I spoke to
sorry to
her.
hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry, I had my mute on.
Hey,
Hi,
everyone, I'm
everybody.
sorry, I'm
Shabbat
trying to
shalom.
get my
Hello,
speakers
Myra.
working.
Oh,
Sorry,
Mara.
Hello.
Travis.
I need another minute. to see if I
We
can
were
get
just
this
talking
connected.
about you, Mara.
Yeah. Was my ears burning?
Get that
Oh,
camera
were they?
going.
What's going on?
Oh, just that you always take pictures.
Yeah, we didn't know whether or not we had to keep smiling in case you didn't take our picture.
Oh,
We said we never know, so we just smile all the time in case.
smile all the time. So cute. Shabbat shalom. Happy Passover, everybody.
You too, Mara. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Ronnie, how's Florida?
Good, very nice.
Beautiful
That's
day.
nice.
Yeah, a little.
Weather's good.
But, not bad.
Why not, Ronnie?
I heard it was pretty windy.
It was, yeah.
And in the 70s.
I have a friend who lives on the East Coast and a friend who lives on the West Coast. And the one on the East Coast was very windy.
Yeah, no complaints.
That's good. That's good.
Well, we'll be home in a month, so it's getting closer.
In a month?
Hi, Maish.
Come back in a month? Great.
Definitely beautiful. Yeah, okay,
Oh, my goodness.
okay.
Hey, everyone, sorry, I'm having trouble with my speakers, some reason. Now
We
I
can
can't
hear you
connect-
fine, sir.
Well, I can hear you.
We can hear you.
No, I know you can hear me, but all I'm hearing is static.
Oh.
Oh,
Does
You're not
somebody
getting
have
it.
a, does
Hi,
somebody
how are
have a
you?
cell phone on?
Good, how are you?
Good, Phyllis.
Hi. Hi, Phyllis. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Frida.
Frida.
Hi.
Hi, Phyllis. Hi, Phyllis.
Hello.
Hi, Rena.
One more thing.
Joan, how do you like the new Mahjong card?
I really haven't looked at it, just to be honest. They all the same to me. I never get to learn them well.
No, I played with it on Wednesday,
How'd
and
it go?
yes, there's some interesting ones.
Janet, did you get your card?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I know because I spoke, I was in touch with Karen. She was Karen was calling today or Monday, but we'll send you one.
Yeah, it's so weird. This happened before a number of years ago. I put in the order for my girls
I
and
know.
they all get their cards and here I am out and,
Yeah.
still waiting.
That you were on the order.
Yes.
No, they're
got my
really,
card.
they're
They
really,
were on their part.
yeah, they're
I
really,
got my
really
card at the
good about-
beginning of the week.
Most people did, though. I did speak to one of our Mahjong sisters who ordered her own, and lives in Atlanta, and she hadn't gotten hers when I first realized that mine hadn't arrived yet.
They're
So,
very, very good about sending out. They'll take your word for it.
oh yeah.
Well, blame it on
Today or tomorrow, Monday morning.
All right.
blame it on Mr. DeJoy's snail mail.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried, but it's just, just would be nice to have it.
Yes.
So it's okay.
You will
Gotta
get
cause
it.
a few waves here and there.
All right.
I'm starting
Ready?
to play on Monday.
Ready,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
Mute everybody.
I'm gonna mute everyone.
All right, you gonna mute us?
Travis.
Say your goodbyes.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Good Yontif again. Shabbat Shalom. Chag Pesach Sameach. I hope everyone is doing really well. It's been a busy week, so it's nice to get away from that busy week as we take in the last 2 days of Pesach. And with that, we're going to skip the Kabbalat Shabbat prayers this evening. So I'm sorry, Maish, no Lecha Dodi and Barbara's tune. Sorry about that, but we'll be back next week for all the fun. So in the meantime, though, I should find the Friday night service so we can begin. I have been less than on top of this today, so I apologize. But we are going to begin this evening on page 28. So I will ask everyone if you are able to please rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Umahavir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uvein laila Adonai tzivahot shemo Echad v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim. We turn to page 29, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu lemadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'shachveinu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha leolam vaed. Ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu uvahem negeh yomam v'layla. V'yavtecha al tasesir mimenu leolamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Page 30. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך וכל נפשך וכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשכבך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day, you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children and recite them at home and away night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. Please continue silently. למען ירבו ימיכם וימי בניכם על האדמה שנשבע אדוני לאבותיכם לתת להם כימי השמיים על הארץ. We turn to page 31 and let's see. What do we have here tonight? Rita, would you like to read the top of the page? You need to unmute though. Rita, are you there? Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you. Yep, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
All right.
I can
Joan,
hear
are you there? Joan, fine?
Aye.
You are allowed to unmute tonight, people.
Okay.
It's not, okay, do you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Would you like to read Adonai says to Moses?
Hold on, this is, okay. Adonai said to Moses, instruct the people Israel that in every generation they shall put tzitzit on the corners of their garments and bind a thread of blue to the tzitzit, the fringe on each corner. Look upon these tzitzit and you will be reminded of all the mitzvot of Adonai and fulfill them, and not be seduced by your heart, nor led astray by your eyes. Then you will remember and observe all my mitzvot and be holy before your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I, Adonai, am your God, who is truth.
Who is true?
Thank you. Yes, you're perfect. Adonai Elohechem Hamat. Page 32. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe bnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam michamocha b'helim Adonai Mikamacha nedar b'kodesh nara tehilot ha'sefer malachutecha ravanecha bokeyam nifnei Moshe Zeli hanu v'amru, Adonai himlach li'olam v'hed. V'nemar, Kifar Adonai et Yaakov, Ugalo mi'ad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Yisrael. Page 33. Rita, are you able to unmute again?
Yes, I can,
Excellent.
but the
Would you
page
like
is
to-
not centered. Okay, that's better.
Would you like to read Help Us Adonai?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. God, our coming and our going, grant us life and peace, now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praised are you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people, Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Yasha, go ahead. Helps
Thank
if
you.
I unmute. Lishmot seitenu avohenu lechayim ushalom et aviat olam ufros alenu sukat shalomecha Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom Aleinu v'yakol amo Yisrael v'ya Yerushalayim. We turn to page 34 and ask if you are able to please rise for the Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berit olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berit olam. Beini uve'bnei Israel oti li'olam, oti li'olam, oti li'olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, Ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim hasadonai, et hashemayim v'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat lahasot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvihi Shavat vayinafash, Shavat vayinafash, Shavat vayinafash, V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lahasot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם. וידבר משה את מועדי אדוני אל בני ישראל. יקטע ויקדש שמי רבה. ויעלמה דברי חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. מגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש ברבה מברך לעולם לעולמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח רומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה ברכו לעילה מן כל בחרתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן מימיו יאמרו Amen. We turn to page 35b and we'll recite silently the Amidah. Please make sure to add these sections in for Pesach. Actually, hold on one second. I'm on the wrong page, actually. I apologize. We're on page, oops, I don't, I need the Festival of Midah. I'm really blowing it this evening, I will tell you that. But if you have a book, it's on page 41b. If you do not have a book, I'm going to try to bring it up for you. So give me one moment. Let's see here. Shabbat and festivals. Let's see, update. Aha. Oh no, that's the morning. Sorry about that. I know there's one here that I thought had all the pages. But I don't know if it does. It probably doesn't, so I know it doesn't. So I'm going to bring you back to page 35b. I will add in the sections for Pesach, but everything else is the same. So apologies for that. I told you it was a busy week. All right, so we're going to do the silent Amidah 35b through 38. I will add in the sections for the, if you do have a book, it's page 41b through 44. When you are finished, you may be seated. ותיתן ארון עליהן ביום שבתון למנוחה ומועדים לספר חגים וזמנים לששום את יום השבת הזה ויד יום חג המצות הזה זה מתחיל רוטין הוא באהבה מקרא קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים ולהן ולאבותינו יאללה ויובל ויגר וירא ויצרי שמגיע בקריצה וזכרו משיח בן דוד עבדך וזכרו שלמי קודשך וזכרו ליום השלום ביום חג המצות הזה זכרנו ונאמר לטובה לפוקדנו ולברכה ולשינו ולחיים ובדבר ישברכם ינחוס וחנם ברכים עלינו ולשינו כלחיינו כמלך חיים ברכים אתה עשינו ושמחה וששון ולהב ותרצון רצון ושמחה וששון שבת ומאוד תקדשו ונשמע בחיים يا كلام يبرأ On page 38 on the screen, or 44, whichever one you happen to be on, let's sing Shalom Ra'av at the top of the page. Shalom Ra'av Yisrael Amcha Tasim Li'olam Shalom Ra'av Yisrael Amcha Tasim Li'olam Ki ata hu melech Adon Lechol hashalom, ki ata hu melech Adon, lechol hashalom, shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha, tasim li'olam, shalom rahav Am Yisrael Amcha Tasim Li'olam V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Li'olam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Li'olam Tasim Li'olam Tasim Li'olam. We turn to page 47. I'll ask if you're able to please rise for the Vayechulu. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz V'chol tzevam Vayech Elohim b'yom hashvi'i Melachto asher asa Vayishbot b'yom hashvi'i Mikol melachto asher asa Vayivarech Elohim et Yom Hashvi, Vayikadesh oto, Ki Shavat Mikol Melachto, Mikol Shavat Mikol Melachto, Asher bara Elohim. Asher bara Elohim lasod Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, Elyon Konei Shamayim v'Haaretz. Please be seated. Magen Avod Bidvaro, Mechaye Metim B'Mamaro, Ahel HaKadosh Ein Kamohu, Hameniach Le'amo, B'Yom Shabbat Kodsho. Kivam ratza lehaniach lahem, Kivam ratza lehaniach lahem, Lefanav navod mirav v'fachad, V'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid, Mein habrachot. El haodot Adon Hashalom Mekadesh HaShabbat Umvarech Shevi Umeniach Bikdusha Liamigdush Neoneg Zecher Lemase Lemase Vereshit. Page 48. Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Retzei V'mnuchatenu Kadeshenu B'mitzvotecha V'techelkenu B'toratecha Sabehenu Mitovecha V'samchenu B'shuatecha Sabehenu Mitovecha V'samchenu B'shuatecha Sabehenu Mitovecha V'samchenu B'shuatecha V'taher V'taher Libeinu V'taher V'taher Libeinu V'taher V'taher Libeinu Liyavdecha Be'emet V'taher V'taher Libeinu V'taher V'taher Libeinu V'taher V'taher Libeinu Liyavdecha Be'emet V'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu B'ahavav ratzon Shabbat kodshecha V'yanuach Yisrael Mikodshei Shemecha Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Yikada v'yikada shemei rabba amen. B'yalma divrach yerute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei. Decho beit Yisrael b'gahalahu v'zman kariv v'yimeru amen. Shmei Rabba mivarach Leolam ulamei amaya Yibarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei de Kudisha Shmei de Kudisha Brechu Liela min kol bechata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechamata damiran mi'alma Tushbechata v'nechamata damiran mi'alma v'yimeru amen Titakabel tzalot hon Uvahuton dechomei Yisrael Kodem avuhon Divishmaya v'yimeru amen Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimeru amen Aseh shalom bimromav Uyaseh shalom Aleinu, Aleinu, v'yakol Yisrael, v'yimeru, v'yimeru, Amen. Good evening again. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to do the Kiddush, but it is the Kiddush for festivals. And of course, I don't have that page here because for some reason I cannot find the book, the pages that I copied for the festivals. So I know you all know it by heart, so I really don't have to share it with all of you. But it would have been nice if I did have it for you because that would make me a good spiritual leader. But because I don't have it, oh, wait a minute. I might have just found it. Look at that. I did. So you missed the Amidah, but that's okay because you know it well anyway. But I do have the Kiddush. So let us turn to page 50 and please rise if you have your wine for the Kiddush. This is what we call a free-form Shabbat Yom Tif because I have nothing properly organized. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Morei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher bachar banu mikol ha'am v'romemanu mikol ha'ashon v'kirishana b'mitzvotav v'titein lanu Adonai Eloheinu B'ahava Shabbatot linucha u'modim l'simcha chagim uzmanim l'sason et yom haShabbat hazeh v'et yom Chag hamatzot hazeh zaman cherutenu b'ahava mikra kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim Kivan v'acharta v'yotana kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat u'modei kodshecha b'ahava v'ratzon b'simcha v'sason chinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat v'Yisrael V'hazmanim Amen. L'chaim. Please be seated. How is everybody tonight?
Just fine.
Just fine. The cat's
Extraordinary fine.
okay? Extraordinarily fine. That's better.
Good. Tired.
One more day of Passover, that's all.
So Roz, how is Chloe and Rabinovich, your two cats?
Chloe and Zoe?
Okay.
Referring to Chloe and Zoe? Their first Passover?
Rabinovich sounds more Jewish.
Aha. Chloe and Zoe are enjoying their first Passover. I have yet to see Passover cat food, but that's all right. They're good.
Instead of water, we give them prune juice.
They're good.
My mother would approve. My mother would approve. And I'm sure they go to the bathroom very well. Okay. As we are in the last 2 days of Pesach, and I know we've all, I'm sure, had a wonderful week of matzah brei, matzah and eggs, filter fish,
Passover rolls.
Passover, whatever we can stomach at this point. But I did want to, remind us all of how fortunate we really are. And we do have, especially those back in the time of the Holocaust. And what I have here tonight is a story that was written by a reporter, Aviva Woznicka. And she talks about her father and based on his time years and years ago of how it was when he was in Auschwitz and how he observed Pesach at the time and what it meant to him. Perhaps because my father was born on the second night of Pesach, soon after the last of the Seder 4 cups of wine had been consumed, was the holiday forever so close to his heart. Or perhaps because he was accordingly called Pesach, did this festival day become his favorite. When I replay those precious Pesach nights of the past in my mind, forever a part of my consciousness and soul, I cannot help but wonder what had encompassed my parents' thoughts at the time. Just as I reflect during our contemporary Seders on the Seders of my childhood, I surmise my parents must have reflected on theirs. Surely would they have seen in their own recollections their parents, brothers, and sisters, old and young, converge together around the glittering festival-laden tables of their past. But alas, they would have undoubtedly been confronted with the stark torment of their loss. For in Auschwitz, it was inconceivable to have a Seder, or at least so it would seem. It was the most envied of jobs among Auschwitz inmates to work in the kitchen. A few crumbs, stolen bite of vegetable or bread would go a long way towards curbing the incessant hunger pains that most were forced to endure. And if the work detail got to a position in the part of the kitchen that served and supplied meals for the Nazi elite, it was if they had won a lottery. Here there was always a taste of hearty leftover soup, a rejected turnip, even a piece of meat that could be salvaged. It could be eaten right then and there, so no evidence of stealing would remain. But the knowledge of having more than the others was for some too heavy a burden. It was often then that an extra half loaf of bread or a piece of vegetable would find its way into the camp's barracks at night, carefully smuggled out through trusted volunteer couriers. Risks were commonly taken, and the meager Auschwitz diet was thus supplemented, at least for some. As daring as some of the ventures were that the kitchen staff undertook in compassion for others and in stark defiance of their Nazi masters, none were as bold as the chance they took before Pesach of 1943. The revered rabbis and Torah scholars of Auschwitz had painstakingly calculated and etched a somewhat cryptic and veiled Jewish calendar on the barrack walls. To the inmates, the etched numbers and symbols represented the passage of time, otherwise difficult to assess in the maddening monotony of Auschwitz life. Of even greater consequence was its communication of the times and dates of the sacred holidays. They secretly scratched off the days of the last month and knew that it was already Nisan, the month of Pesach, when the biblical account of God's miraculous deliverance of the Jewish people from the Egyptian bondage would normally be retold and celebrated as it had been for thousands of years. Freedom from slavery, freedom to celebrate and fulfill God's commandments had always been the very essence of the holiday. But in Auschwitz, it also constituted a dream, the daring hope and aspiration of every Jew that Pesach, how perfect a time for the Mashiach to come. As children, the inmates of Auschwitz had carefully filled their cups with wine and stood at the doors of their beloved parents' homes on Pesach night. There they had welcomed the prophet Elijah to taste the wine of redemption, and within the same breath, they had solicited God's revenge against their enemies. Pour your wrath upon the nations, for they have devoured Jacob and destroyed his habitation. Pour your anger upon them and let your fiery wrath overtake them. Pursue them with wrath and annihilate them from beneath the heavens of God. How fitting it would be to ask the prophet Elijah to step into Auschwitz right then and there to herald the long-awaited redemption. Pesach was approaching. It was time for a miracle. Let it happen now. A little sprinkling of flour was surely brushed away and put aside each day after baking. At least from a distance, such action would be made to appear as part of the routine cleanup at the end of the day. Meticulous care was taken so no chametz would come near this flour and that it would remain pure and clean. It did not take too long before enough of this flour was set aside for the making of 5 matzahs. At great risk, one of the camp's bakers snuck into the kitchen of the dark night and administered the finishing touches and checks to render the oven kosher for Pesach baking. The preliminary steps of koshering had already been carefully made in the final hours before the kitchen had been locked up for the day. The oven had been scrubbed, cleaned, and torched under camouflage and watchful eyes. With practiced dexterity and timed precision, 5 round matzahs were rapidly shaped and baked in the midst of the wretchedness and depravity of Auschwitz. A minyan, including the baker and 7 men of pious distinction, had already been formed. Each candidate was carefully screened in advance for his worthiness and commitment before he was invited to partake of the matzah. But that was not enough. It was decided that only those who vowed to refrain from eating any chametz throughout the entire week of Pesach would be allowed to participate in fulfilling the God-given commandment of eating matzah this Pesach. The day Pesach chametz first entered Auschwitz's gates, he had learned of his young family's catastrophic fate. He knew he had walked with several yards from the macabre site of their untimely demise. He was now alone. There would be no one waiting for him. He was free to risk his life if he so chose. As the holiday had always been close to his heart, Pesach did not hesitate to step forward, and he was honored to receive the cherished half matzah that was to sustain him through the week. The size of his portion seemed to have somewhat diminished from what he had first imagined. He swallowed hard as his share of the sacred bread of affliction was handed over to him. He turned to the heavens to offer a prayer of thanks for the special privilege of having matzah for Pesach, and then cried out a desperate plea to the Almighty to help him get through the week. Then 10 of the minyan had resolved together that it would be best to give away any chametz they received in their rations to others who may want it. It was not hard to find customers for extra portions of bread and porridge. That year, Pesach and 9 other men each survived on a half matzah and water for the entire week of Pesach, working, standing in endless lines of apples, and retreating at night to sleep on crowded planks in the stinking holes of Auschwitz's barracks. Those who were there were those who ate their share within the first 2 days of the week. Others, like Pesach, let it last until the end of the 7th day, when the man they considered their Rav entreated them to stop their fast. As the 8th day of Pesach was only added to the holiday for those outside the land of Israel and not commanded them directly by the Torah, in light of the serious risks of starvation, they were told that they should commence eating the camp's food immediately. Years later, at the Seder table, he shared with his growing family in Canada Pesach would outline with his thumb the size of the half matzah he had survived on that week in the camps. The minyan had counted on augmenting their diet with vegetables, but at the same time, there wasn't a vegetable in sight. The possibility of death by starvation had constantly been on his mind. The minyan had made it through the week. The Mashiach did not come. There was no illustrious redemption. But 10 men in Auschwitz walked a little taller, their stance slightly prouder. They had defied the heinous enemy and had stood steadfast in their faith. Those close by who had watched the 10 sacrifice were emboldened by their actions, uplifted by their contagious spirits. They whispered of the noble feat until a great number in the camp were quickly privy to the knowledge of an entire minyan fulfilling the commandment of eating matzah on the holy day and keeping Pesach in their midst. Not every member of the minyan survived to conspire to bake matzah the next year, and those who did paved the way for others. And once again in 1944, 10 men in Auschwitz had matzah for Pesach. By this time, many inmates were aware of what was happening and silently cheered the minyan on. In the end, word of the deed got out, and when the week of Pesach came to a close, merciless reprisal was exacted in the grueling apples of Auschwitz's fields. But a whole Pesach had passed before they knew. I didn't care what they would do to me. It was worth it. To have matzah and Pesach in spite of them, it was all worth it. Pesach would say, remembering with satisfaction, a broad grin stretching across his face. Amen. So hopefully that gives us a little more perspective of what we go through on Pesach. We will continue with our service. And we are today going to be counting the Omer. So before we count the Omer, actually before we do Elena, we're going to count the Omer. And tonight is the sixth night of the Omer. Oops. Page. Or I should say last night was the fifth night of the Omer, and today was the fifth day of the Omer. הנני מוכן ומזומן לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר, כמו שכתוב בתורה, וספרתם לכם ממחרת השבת מיום הביאכם את עומר התנופה, 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה, עד ממחרת השבת השביעית תספרו 50 יום. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer as it is ordained in the Torah. You shall count from the eve of the second day of Pesach, when an Omer of grain is to be brought as an offering, 7 complete weeks. The day after the 7th week of your counting will make 50 days. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al sefirat Ahomer. Praised are you, Adonai, our God who rules the universe, instilling in us the holiness of mitzvot by commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom shisha yamim lahomer. Tonight is the beginning of the 7th night of Pesach and the 6th day of the Omer. We turn back in our Sidurim to page 51. And I ask if you are able to please rise for, let's see if I can find my way back to where we were. It's very close. Page 51 for the Elenu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latei kedula liyotzeh breshid, שלא עשני כגויי הרצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שנותן שמם ויוסר ארץ ומשהו ויקרא בשממים, ושכינת יזבח המברמים ואלוהים, ככתוב בתורתו וידעת, אם יושב אותה, לבבך כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ועל הארץ ותפארת. אוקיי, נקווה לך אדוני, אלוהינו רבי רבי תפארת, וזכו יביא גלילים מן הארץ והגלילים קראים ולקיים, ותקן עליו במלכות שדי, בכל מיני נושא יקרא בשמך. לא הפנוני לך כל אישי ארץ, יכירו וידעו כל אישי טבע קיבורך. אדוני אלוהינו יקראו ויפלו ויקבלו בכל מקום, יעלם דרכנו בכל מקום אמרתך. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד. Mourners and those observing your sight. In love, we remember those who no longer walk this earth. We are grateful to God for the gift of their lives, for the joys we shared, and for the cherished memories that never fade. May God grant those who mourn the strength to see beyond their sorrow, sustaining them despite their grief. May the faith that binds us to our loved ones be a continuing source of comfort. As we invite those who mourn and those observing your sight to praise God's name with the words of the Kaddish. Mourners and those observing your sight, page 52 for the Mourners Kaddish. If you would like to unmute, please do so. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen. Bi'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivorach Li'olam Lamei Almaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shmei D'Kudisha Rechu Le'ela Min Kol Berchata V'shirata Ushbechata V'nechamata Ta'amiran Yalma V'yimeru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah Mishmaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'meru. Amen. Oseh Shalom Dimromav U'ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'meru. Amen. Please be seated. Shabbat Shalom again. Good Yontif. Chag Sameach.
Hag Sameach.
At this time, it is my pleasure to call upon the president of our lovely shul, or lovely Hamish festive shul, Roseland Abrams, who will give this month's birthdays, anniversaries, and announcements.
Thank you, Seth. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Chag Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay. So we have some April birthdays and anniversaries, and then we'll do one Shecheyanu after everything. Janet Lemna, tomorrow, happy birthday. Awesome. Linda Harris, Leonard Brand, Barry Beck, Eric Schwartz, Ronald Goldberg, Irving Batcherman, Susan Kaplan, Sandy Simon, Amy Gottsagen, Danny Kellerman, Jason Volch, from Matanzer, Bernice Bornstein, Sandra Kamens, Renee Brilliant, Michelle Yanofsky, and Gary Kaplan. Frida, did you have any more birthdays?
Yes, I do. Larry Kravitz and Ken Kravitz.
All right. Oh, Larry and Kenny Kravitz. All right.
Yeah, in April. Thank you.
Okay. And then we just have 2 anniversaries for April. Mr. and Mrs. John Smith and Mr. and Mrs. Barry Moffey. Were there any other anniversaries that I missed for April? So why don't we do for everyone's birthday, Shecheyanu, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech HaOlam, Shecheyanu, V'kiyamanu, V'higiyanu, Lazman Hazeh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just a few announcements. Tomorrow morning, live stream services for the 7th day of Passover will begin at 9 o'clock. And Sunday live stream services for the 8th day of Passover will begin at 9 o'clock. Yizkor will be recited at approximately 10:15-ish. On Thursday mornings at 10 o'clock, the men of our show get together virtually for coffee chat. Come join in for 40 minutes of good conversation, and of course, bring your own coffee. You can email Barry Lashinsky to reserve your spot, and he will send out the Zoom link in advance. This Wednesday, April 7th, the Ritual and Return to Show Life committees will meet via Zoom at 7 o'clock. This Thursday, April 8th, is Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Memorial Day. The Peabody Library will host an online program, Holocaust Memorial Day, A Story of Survival. To learn about one's family story of survival that begins in Lodz, Poland, and ends in Israel and Canada. Rabbi Ilana Jacobitz of Temple B'nai B'rith in Somerville will share her family's story through photos. And then there'll be a Q&A at the end. And you can register, I believe you can go to the Peabody Institute Library website, and there's a way to register for receiving the Zoom link. And that's at what time? 12 to 1:30. So you can bring your lunch, 12 to 1:30 on Thursday. And that same evening, April 8th, at 7:30, the Lapin Foundation will host Rescued Evidence and Pieces of the Past, which will explore anti-Semitism, the Holocaust, and World War II.
Yeah.
Greg Phillipson, historian and Judaica collector, will lead the discussion. The event is free, but of course you have to register for the Zoom link. Our Shul and Shalom Hadassah are co-hosts of this event. Our next Friday service will be on April 16th at 7 o'clock. And the next regular board meeting will be on Sunday morning, April 18th at 10:30. And that is it. I will turn the service back over to Seth. Enjoy the rest of the Passover holiday, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say something. It must be Amy Gottsagen's birthday this month because she's showing her face in the camera, so it's nice to see you.
It is April 17th.
All right. We are going to conclude this evening with the Yigdal prayer, and then we will say the motzi and the matzah and whatever. So Frida, you can help us with that in a few moments. So we turn to page 53, and we will conclude. All right. Yigdal Lahim Chai V'yishtabach V'yein Hel Metziuto V'echad V'yein Yachid K'yichudo Ne'lam V'gam Ein Sof Li'achduto In Lo Demut HaGuf V'yein No Guf Lo Naharoch Elav Kedushato Kadmon L'chol Davar Asher nivra rishon v'yein reshit l'reshito hino adon olam v'chol notzar yoreh gedulato malchuto shefa nevuato netano אלא אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו, לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל, על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו, לא יכל לפעל ולא ימיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו, צופה ויודע סתרנו, מביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו, גומל איש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לרשע רע כרשעתו, ישלח לקץ הימין משיחנו, לפתור מחכה קץ ישועתו, מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עד שם תהילתו, מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עד שם תהילתו. Frida, let's
Yes.
hear.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth and es gesundheit. And now we have the second one on Matzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher keshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah.
That's so.
Again, es gesundheit as much as you can.
As gesundheit.
Right. Yes.
Thank you, Frida. Thank you, Seth.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye-bye.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.